Hi, I'm Mark. I'm going to read to you today Edwin and the Logs. It's a story about my fourth great grandfather, David Edwin Bassett. David Edwin Bassett, known as Edwin, lived in Illinois, then Iowa, as a child. All around his family, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were forming wagon trains and moving west. Edwin and his family were not members of the church, but they decided to move west with the pioneers. Edwin enjoyed his time with the Saints, even though he had heard some bad things about them. He liked to play his violin for dances as they traveled toward Utah. Edwin's parents decided to join the church and stay with the Saints in Utah. The family settled in a town called Providence. Edwin was still skeptical about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Edwin was 16 years old and looking for work. He asked a man for a job. The man said, "You don't look like much of a man. Do you think you can do a man's work?" Edwin replied that he would certainly like to try. The man agreed to give him a chance to prove himself. The man sent Edwin with a wagon to bring back a load of logs from the mountain. Edwin was excited for the chance to prove himself, but he was nervous about his ability to do the job. He loaded all the logs he could onto the wagon and started back down the mountain. Edwin didn't get far before the load began to slip. He was afraid the logs would fall and he would have to load them again. He stopped and retied the load. He headed down the mountain again, still not very confident in his load. The logs began to slip again. Edwin worried that he would not get the load down the mountain before dark. Edwin thought that if he prayed like the Latter-day Saints, maybe God would help him. He also thought this could be a chance to find out if the church was true. He asked God to show him how to tie the load if the church was true, but if it wasn't true, just to leave things as they were. After the prayer, Edwin knew exactly how to tie the load. It was simple. He wondered why he hadn't thought of doing it that way before. He also felt something telling him that the church was true. When Edwin arrived with the load, the man complimented him on the job. He asked him who had taught him to bind a load like that. He was convinced that Edwin could do a man's work. He asked him to stay on and work for him. Edwin knew that his prayer had been answered and that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was true. He was baptized soon after. Here's a picture of David Edwin Bassett, and this page shows how I'm related to him through my mother, Carolyn Miller, my grandma, Flora Baird, great-grandma, Susie Marie Bassett, second great-grandmother, Susan Alzina Bassett, and my third great-grandfather is David Edwin Bassett.